Good morning, folks. Ken Hovind here and the crew at Dinosaur Adventureland in Lenox, Alabama. Join us. It's a little chilly here today, but we love it down here in Lenox. We're the place that believes the Bible is true and evolution theory is dumb, real dumb. And let's see what happened. Fast forward. Here we go. Okay. Dinosaur Adventureland in Lenox, Alabama, straight north of Pensacola. Come see us. We are having a blast down here. The Bible says very clearly that we should remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy, for in 6 days the Lord made heaven, earth, sea, all that in them is. He made it all in 6 days. Dinosaurs lived with man. Anyway, real simple. So forget about the stupid COVID hoax. Vaccinate your kids against propaganda of evolution. Get my video series. You got 5 more days till my birthday. If you want to buy 2, get a 3rd one free and a bunch more videos free, and spread them out, get somebody converted. People call us probably every day saying they got saved watching those videotapes. But it's amazing. They go all over the place. While I was in prison unjustly for 9 years, I wrote a book, Why on Earth Did God Let This Happen? Folks, we're about to enter a time of tribulation, and some Christians are going to wonder, why is God letting this happen? You may want to read my book. Why on earth? Sometimes bad things happen, and you never find out why. If any of you ever had any bad things happen and you never found out why, just keep serving God anyway. God never told Job why it went wrong. Never told him. Think about that. I also wrote the book, What on Earth is About to Happen? If you want to find out what's coming. I said back in, I think, 2013 or 14, whenever we published this, I think it's going to start 2021. Now, I really think it's going to start 2021. You'll see in a minute. Visitors today, Paul, why don't you come on up, and your crew come up. Only got 2 chairs here. Tell us how you like Dinosaur Adventureland. And get the microphone here. All right. Can you get another chair there? No more? Okay. Steve, pan in for all of that. I got too much stuff up here. Well, Paul, you came up here to videotape me for an interview. Scoot over real tight here so they all got room. Oh, you can pan over. Okay, yeah. All right. Go ahead. Tell them what kind of work you do.
Well, I have a company that makes documentaries, and so I've made about 10 documentaries so far, and we're working on a new one about the COVID hoax. And so we wanted to interview you about that topic. And yeah, I appreciate your time.
Where do the people find your documentaries? What's your website?
Framingtheworld.com.
Framingtheworld.com. Yep. Okay. Yeah. How'd you like Dinosaur Adventureland Real Tour?
This has been a huge blessing. You took us on the real tour, got soaked on one side today already. So it's been a lot of fun. I definitely encourage anyone out there to come check it out. It's a lot different in real life than what you see even on the YouTube videos.
You think these lessons that we teach will be life-changing, which is the goal here?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Right? I think that, if you have kids, this is just a perfect place to bring your children and family and hang out for a few days.
Thank you, sir. Tell them who you are.
My name is Rob. I'm from Toronto, Canada, just visiting. Just came down here, hanging out with Paul, helping him out with his movie, and just had a blast. I chose to take the real tour instead of the grandma tour. I don't regret it. Just amazing. Definitely something that I'd recommend anyone to come down here, check it out. Really entertaining, meeting Dr. Ken Hovind and checking out everything here and meeting all the great people here. I actually, his creation seminars were a segue to me getting saved. So I watched them all, and I don't understand why they don't teach that in school, to little kids and stuff, right? But amazing series, and just really happy to be here.
All right. And here on your honeymoon with your wife, good luck. Say hi.
Hi.
That was it? Pan over there, Steve. Okay. Sicilian, right?
Yes.
I have heard that they have, they can have a temper. You haven't found that out yet, have you?
Not yet, no.
Not yet. Okay,
Thanks
good.
for letting me know.
Anything? How'd you like Dinosaur Adventureland?
I loved it. I honestly was so happy to be here. We were planning to come, and the fact that we got to come with Paul and get to meet you has been amazing. And the tour was beyond amazing. So I loved it.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Well, yay. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Yeah, they said it was the highlight of their trip. So
the highlight of the trip. So okay. Fun. Well, good. Thank you all for coming. Let's set that down there. Appreciate that. All right. I'll shut this one off, Steve. Be on mic 1 or 2. Okay. Either one. Okay. Okay. One going off. All right. Well, thank you for coming down here for Dinosaur Adventureland. We are, as I mentioned, 70 miles dead north of Pensacola. Come on up, just a few miles off the interstate. Not hard to find. And we are just 1 mile north of downtown Lenox, if you can call it that. Dinosaur Adventureland. We have about 140 acres, and it is really, really, really fun. Like it around here. We have all kinds of science lessons and activities. We've had visitors come from all over the world. Did Laszlo here, did he ever get the sensor for I like the Can-Am, but
It gets here Monday.
it gets here Monday. So I can finally get my Can-Am fixed. Oh, yay. What a birthday present. I love that thing. Anyway, our bird feeder is pretty cool. The peacocks stand in front of those mirrors and look at themselves. Did you see them this morning out there hopping up and down? Look, there's another bird in there. Yeah, they have all kinds of fun activity. You didn't see the corkscrew willow. Well, I'll show you that afterwards. That's pretty cool. We've had 140 baptized now. Oh, I mistyped the number. Maybe more than 140. Okay. The Kubota dealer loves our ministry, friend of mine. He said, Kent, I got a trade-in. I've got a 52-horse tractor that is only got 200 hours on it. I think it'd be perfect for your ministry. We sold the John Deere to be out of debt. We finished the year December 31st with zero debt. But we're missing a tractor. So if you want to help us out, hey, Brother Hovind, I'll get you a birthday present. I'll buy you a $23,000 tractor. Anyway, the fool said in his heart, there's no God. You're a fool to not believe in God. It says that in Proverbs 14, Proverbs 51. The Bible says the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. Scorners delight in their scorning. We got some people that comment on our YouTube channel over and over and over like they have nothing else to do because Mama did not call them up out of the basement yet to get breakfast at noon. So they make all these comments. Bible says the mouth of the foolish is near destruction. A companion of fools shall be destroyed. There's a lot in the Bible about people being fools, teaching things that are just dumb. The mouth of fools poureth out foolishness. Smite a scorner, and the simple will beware. So this morning, just for a second, before we get into the lesson, we're going to have to take a scorner who comments frequently on our channel and smack him sweetly in Christian love so that he can understand knowledge, maybe, okay? On our last YouTube, I mentioned that after the flood, the ice caps of the earth were probably larger. If the ice caps were bigger, that would make the oceans lower. Anybody not comprehend that? Okay, if the ice caps are bigger, the oceans would be smaller. And I said the animals probably had 100 years to travel anywhere in the world, getting off of Noah's Ark, before the ice melted back and raised the ocean levels, which is why there's a continental shelf and a land bridge between Vietnam and Australia. He said, Mr. R.R.C. Dawkins, he calls himself, Hovind forgot to mention the Timor Sea, which is more than 10,800 feet deep. Is that his definition of shallow? Well done, Kent. Your land bridge to Australia theory is destroyed. Duh. So my land bridge, let's see, 10,000 feet deep, the Timor Sea. So my land bridge theory is destroyed. Well, let's see. You named yourself after Richard Dawkins. I think Dawkins would be a little more appropriate. Today you get the dunce cap, Mr. Dawkins. Let's see. You mentioned after the flood, the ice caps were larger, making the ocean smaller. Animals had 100 years to travel anywhere in the world. So they would get from the Ark over here within 100 years, I'm thinking, and then they could get over to Australia by going across the land bridge, which would exist if you lowered the oceans. There you can see it from a satellite. It's shallow water between there. He said, well, the Timor Sea, what is that right there? Timor Sea, okay, is 10,000 feet deep. Well, part of it is, did you know at the edge of the ocean, you know how deep the water is? 0. Think about it just for a few minutes. The deepest point of the Timor Trough is 10,000 feet. He's right. I agree. But the deepest point is northern part, 10,000 feet. The rest of the sea is much shallower, Mr. Dork, averaging less than 650 feet. At the edge, it is 0. Okay. Hovind forgot to mention, Timor Sea is 10,000. My theory is destroyed. Really? I don't think so. The deepest point is 10,000, but other places is less deep. So I bet they walked around the deep part. The rest of the sea is much shallower. It's not complicated. Okay, I'll try to explain it. See, the deep part is down here at the bottom. The shallow part is up here. Let me know if I go too fast, Mr. Dawkins. Okay. At the edge, it is 0. So if the oceans were lower, they could go around the deep part of the Timor Sea and stay on dry ground and walk to Australia. Anybody confused about that? So my land bridge theory to Australia is not destroyed. I would suggest you stop commenting or get a new name so we can start again. You've probably done that 8 times on our channel now. See, does that help you? They could go across and go around. If you come to Dinosaur Adventureland, we will teach you there are certain things as you take the tour, you should learn to walk around. How many understand? Okay? So, Mr. Dorkin, sorry about that. This channel doesn't have any content. Neither does the brain, I don't think, on that one. Would you prefer to believe they surf to get around the world? Rafting dispersal of terrestrial animals. How many have seen the surfing monkey theory? They're saying the monkeys surfed to South America. Right. Okay, brilliant. Animals coming off of Noah's Ark spread around the world. That's a reasonable theory to say the animals could come off the ark and spread around the world. Believing all the animals came from a single-celled protista is not reasonable. Believing all the animals and all the stars and planets came from a single dot is insane. Believing in a one-world government that'll solve all the problems is really insane. You folks need to buckle up. It's probably going to happen in the next couple of months unless a miracle takes place. It's called the Great Reset. How many have heard of the Great Reset? They're going to hit reset and reset the economy, shut down all bank accounts, shut down all access to credit cards, be able to shut off your electricity. That's what they want. Just keep an eye on what's happening, folks. Be praying. God said, if my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face, I'll hear their prayer and heal their land. We better get busy serving God if you're a Christian. It's coming to a crash soon, probably this year. Be thinking. Anyway, if you want to help us to open for free, join our 777 club and go to drdino.com. So I want to help them guys win souls. I'm going to go up to slide number 1041 real quick here. Jesus said, if God were your father, you would love me. For I proceeded forth and came from God. Neither came I of myself, but he sent me. Why do you not understand my speech? Even because ye cannot hear my word. Ye are of your father the devil, and the lusts of your father ye will do. Bottom of that verse says, he's a liar and the father of it. I did a DVD, video number 4 of my series, DVD number 4, Lies in the Textbooks. I cover 35 lies in the textbooks. We redid the whole series. You can go to our Dr. Dino or Ken Hovind official YouTube channel, go to the playlist. There's 34 videos I did with covering 75 lies in the textbooks. Bible says, these 6 things doth the Lord hate. A lying tongue. Then he mentions it again, a false witness that speaketh lie. 2 out of the 6 are lies. God really hates them. He hates lies. Florida has a law that requires instructional materials to be accurate. Don't lie to the kids. Okay? When errors in state-adopted materials are confirmed, the publisher of the material shall provide to each school district that has purchased the material the corrections. Oh, so if you find a lie in the textbook, they're supposed to fix it. Florida, do your job, okay? The commissioner may remove materials from the list of state-adopted textbooks. This is stuff I put out 15 years ago. They still haven't changed it. California has a law that says textbooks shall be factually accurate and shall reflect current and confirmed research. They're not doing that. You guys are allowing lies in your textbooks in California. Watch my series, okay? Texas has a law. Instructional materials shall be the most factual information accurately and objectively portrayed. Really? Are Texas textbooks accurate? Oh, no. 75 lies in there. What about Wisconsin? Yep, textbooks ought to be accurate. Alabama, textbooks should be adequate and current, up to date. Well, if they're still teaching stuff like Piltdown Man, they're lying. If they're still teaching the human embryo has gill slits, proven wrong in 1874, they're lying. And it's still in there. There they are, right there. Take a look. Okay, Minnesota. A teacher shall not deliberately suppress or distort subject matter. Teachers, do your job. That's the law. Don't distort the subject matter and tell the kids their grandpa was an ape. They have all these charts. National Geographic said, one of these early hominids was ancestral to us, but we don't know which. It could well be something we haven't found yet. That's a secret way of saying, I need more grant money to do more research. Yeah, Mary Leakey. What a good name for that one. They were leaky. All right. They're still teaching all these outdated, false information, cavemen kind of stuff in the textbooks. I spoke at Mankato State University, did a debate up there, looked in their textbooks, and they're still teaching that we came from an ape-like ancestor. All those have been proven wrong, guys. Get up to speed. By the way, Homo sapien means wise. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. And if you think that's grandpa, you're a fool, right? They say that he's the daddy of us all. Come on, you don't know he's the daddy of anybody. When you find a fossil in the dirt, all you really know is it died. We covered that earlier about a week ago here. This is baloney. None of these are science, the Piltdown Man. Get those things out of the textbooks. It's not science. It's Logic 101. If you find a fossil in the dirt, you know it died. Right? You couldn't prove it had any kids, and you sure couldn't prove it had different kids, kids that lived, and kids that reproduced, and kids that were different. Every animal today, when they have babies, they look kind of like mom and dad, don't they? Humans have humans, cows have cows, dogs have dogs. Are there any exceptions to that? No. So why do you think a bone in the dirt could do something no animal today that can do that's alive? None. It's a religion. Every farmer in the world will tell you is cows produce cows and corn produces corn. Nothing else. So the idea that some ape-like creature slowly became man is complete baloney. But we're teaching that to the kids. I think it's time we do something about it. Get the lies out of the textbooks. I'm not saying we should get creation into the books. Just get the lies out. Here's the problem. I mentioned that I went through all my lies in the textbooks one time at a university, and this teacher said, Mr. Hovind, what are you going to replace all this with? I said, wait a minute. We can't take a lie out of the book until I find a replacement. What you're trying to not say is, these lies are used to support your religion of evolution, and if we take all the lies out, you got nothing to support your religion. It's my job to find more evidence for your religion. I got an idea. Why don't you teach science in science class? Just science. What we know. We know cows produce cows. That we know. We do not know cows and mosquitoes have a common ancestor. We don't know that. You can believe that if you want. No fossil would count as evidence in an honest court of law. Similar design proves a common designer. So today we're going to talk about the Stone Age. Where does that fit into the Bible? Just briefly here. I covered this on my video number 2 on my series years ago. Before the flood, the Bible says the people lived to be 900. After the flood, it dropped off to 400. So Noah couldn't get off the ark and tell his son, hey, go to the hardware store and buy a shovel. There were no hardware stores. The whole world was wiped out. They got to rebuild civilization from scratch. Whatever you got on the boat, that's what you got to work with. So if he had some tools on the boat, I'm sure he did, what's his kids and grandkids going to use? You got to go make your own. You reach what's called a Gilligan's Island situation. Smart people, well, Gilligan wasn't too smart, but actually the skipper was the only one with a brain on that island. But you got to rebuild civilization. The Stone Age, of people working with stone tools, probably came right after the flood. They faced a devastated world. It had been destroyed. Even today, some people are banished and cast out of society. If somebody was bad coming, say Noah's descendants number in a few hundreds, and one of them breaks the rules, what are you going to do? Lock them up and somebody's got to be assigned to go feed them every day? No, banish them from society. Make him feed himself. That'd be enough. They would enter what's called a Stone Age. It's if you found yourself on a plane crash and ended up on an island like Tom Hanks, you would very quickly learn, I better make some stone tools. Duh, right? The people lived longer before the flood. After the flood, the lifespans dropped off. Well, animals were different also. They find fossils of rhinoceros 18 feet tall. That's a big rhino. They tell the kids about prehistoric animals. There's no such thing as prehistoric. No such thing. We have history from day one. Let's see, it starts off in the beginning. How are you going to go before that? I've got history from day one. There's no such thing as prehistoric. Did you know in 1766, the dictionary did not have the word prehistoric? It wasn't in there. Interesting. 1860 dictionary, they're up here on the shelf. 1860 did not have the word prehistoric. Darwin's book came out 1859. Took a while for the dictionaries to get up to speed. 1892, prehistoric was still not in the dictionary. There's things that are pre-flood, but that's not prehistoric, okay? The canopy overhead would cause things to be very different. Insects would get much larger. See, insects breathe through their skin. They don't have lungs. So they're dependent on air pressure to get their spiracles that in the side of their body absorb the oxygen for their body. So they're limited. They can't get very big. They breathe through their skin. So they've got a surface area to volume ratio problem that happens as they get larger. Bugs growing in oxygen-rich waters grow up to 1,000 times heavier. Interesting. The more oxygen they get, the bigger they can get. See, if you take a cube that's 1 inch by 1 inch by 1 inch, it has a volume of 1 cubic inch. It has 6 sides on it, so it has 6 inches of surface to absorb oxygen for that 1 cubic inch of volume. What if we double it to 2? Well, 2 times 2 times 2 is 8, but it only has 24 square inches of surface. We just went from 6 to 1 to 3 to 1. It has less skin to get air to the middle. The larger it gets, the worse this problem becomes, and the smaller it gets, the easier it is. So insects are limited in their size based upon the air pressure they're living in. If the pre-flood world had a canopy overhead and increased air pressure, and they had richer oxygen, they could get much bigger. They find fossil dragonflies with 50-inch wingspan. Couldn't possibly fly today. The air's too thin. They find giant bird fossils. Huge dragonflies. What was different? They had to have greater air pressure. Couldn't fly, that's for sure. Hummingbirds. There's a hummingbird next to a bee. A bee as big as a hummingbird been found. Scorpions were huge. 8-foot sea scorpion been found. I think something was different on the planet. There were pterodactyl type animals, pterosaurs, as big as a giraffe. How could they fly? Well, today they couldn't. The air is too thin. They found a fossil centipede 8.5 feet long. 8.5 feet. Some pretty big bugs have been found. And see, insects breathe through their skin. So this is clear evidence of greater air pressure or greater oxygen concentration, or probably both at the same time. That's a big bug. Cockroaches. We used to raise Madagascar hissing cockroach. I'd like to get some more, by the way, if anybody has some. Had them in Pensacola at our museum. Kids love to handle them. They're friendly. Well, friendly. How do you tell them when they smile? I don't know. But anyway, they didn't mind if you picked them up, but they would hiss. They find fossil cockroaches 18 inches long. Something was bigger. What do you do if you get them in your kitchen? Fossil grasshoppers, 2 feet long, have been found. How'd you make a meal out of them? Yep. Giant tarantula fossils have been found. Cattails 60 feet tall. They found a fossil donkey that was 9 feet high at the shoulder. Giant sloths lived on the planet. Giant sloths, 18 feet tall. Buffalo horns indicate, they've been found, Joe Taylor's got one, indicating they had a 12-foot horn span. We got 2 buffaloes up here in our museum. Imagine a 12-foot horn span on a buffalo. Giant elk with 12-foot antlers. You deer hunters, how'd you like to have that hanging on the wall, right? Kangaroos never stop growing. They find fossil kangaroos, giant lions, 10 feet long, or 10-foot kangaroos, a wombat the size of a Mini. That's the little car they have. There were just some really big animals. And this is not prehistoric. This is pre-flood. But see, the scoffers are ignorant of that flood. They don't want to admit there was a flood. They can't figure out how to get around the deep part of the Timor Sea. Man, okay. Okay. Ancient rodent the size of a buffalo. How about a bird 13 feet tall, been found fossilized? The elephant bird. We got a copy of one of their eggs in our museum here. The elephant bird. The egg is huge. Ostrich eggs are big. Elephant bird is really big. Now, Ray Comfort told me that the kiwi, the kiwi from Australia, or New Zealand, where he's from, lays the largest egg compared to the body size of any bird. And the call of the kiwi is eow. That's what Ray Comfort told me. Anyway, so giant gander found in Australia, the goose and the gander. Let's see. A giant prehistoric goose which stood as tall as an elephant and weighed up to half a ton. Thanksgiving dinner. That's a big. They find giant beavers 8 feet long. Got some beavers in our lake down here. There's a beaver jaw. You know, beaver teeth are amazing. The front of the tooth is hard enamel. The back is soft. There's a beaver jaw other side of this wall. If you go in their room, you'll see it. Pick up the beaver skull. Every time they chew, it sharpens their teeth. Self-sharpening teeth. Their teeth never stop growing. Interesting. You'd almost think it was designed if you didn't know better. They find beaver skulls from Ohio. This one would have had to be about 6 feet long. I think beavers were bigger. I think all animals were bigger. Today, salamanders get 5.5 to 8 inches long. Salamanders. They find fossil salamanders 6 feet long. Something was different. This canopy of ice above would increase air pressure, filter out sunlight, allowing more gas to get diffused into the water. See, fish have to breathe underwater. So they're limited in their size and their growth rate based on how much oxygen is diffused in the water. You know, they find today catfish 646 pounds in Thailand. That's a big fish. Here's a shark's jaw in our museum here. 1 inch of shark's tooth indicates the shark was probably 15 feet long. A 1-inch tooth is a big shark. They find fossil shark's teeth that are 80 feet long. Got a bunch in our museum, other side of this wall here. Come take a look. 80-foot shark, the megalodon. Something was different. The pre-flood world probably had a bigger magnetic field, stronger magnetic field. Dr. Baugh got a wild idea in his museum in Glen Rose, Texas, to take an aquarium. Somebody can do this here. He put a stronger magnetic field around his aquarium. James, maybe you can do this for a science experiment. His piranha grew 4 times larger than normal just by adding a stronger magnetic field around the aquarium. It was 06 when I went there. Giant piranha. There's one of his piranha. Turtles have been found fossilized that are huge. That's a 12-foot turtle, me next to it. They found a 15-footer now, I think is the biggest one ever found. Let's see. Archelon, extinct marine turtle, 15 feet from head to tail. I'd say that's a big turtle. Oysters have been found 11.5 feet. That's a big oyster. You should see the pearl. 500 fossilized oysters 2 miles above sea level. Some 11.5 feet wide, weighed 660 pounds. Interesting. When the climbers reach the top of Mount Everest to plant their victory flags over the remains of animals that once lived in the sea. Wait a minute. You mean Mount Everest was underwater? Well, sort of. The water was not over Mount Everest. Mount Everest was under the water, which is different. After the flood, the Bible says the mountains arose and the valleys sank down. The crust of the earth would be flexing up and down. So what is now Mount Everest was underwater. There's seashells on top. And the crust of the earth would flex, and that would become mountains, and water would run off. So there's not enough water to cover Mount Everest where it is today, but if you pushed all the mountains down, the whole earth would be underwater. How many can figure that out? Smooth it out, it'd all be underwater. It's not complicated, Mr. Dorkins. Why are there seashells on top of Mount Everest? A student tries to explain why there are seashells on top of Mount Everest and the formation of the Himalaya mountains. A clinical interview with a bright student reveals a common misconception about how shells were embedded in the rocks on top of Mount Everest. Yeah? How do you get petrified, closed clams on top of Mount Everest? Now hold it. When clams die, they open. They find closed, petrified clams. We've got hundreds of them here in our museum on top of Mount Everest. Now, Mr. Dorkins, just so you don't, here, let me explain it to you. Mount Everest is a little ways from the beach, like 450 miles. Okay? So, number one, clams walk on land very good. And they sure can't climb mountains very good. And when they die, they open. So to get closed, petrified clams on top of Mount Everest, I think, is evidence of the Bible being true. There was a flood. Reptiles never stop growing. Bible says Adam was the first man. He lived 130 years and had a son, and that boy lived 105 years and had a son, and he lived 90 years. You add up the dates and you get my chart, which is here somewhere. Anyway, Bible dates add up to about 6,000. You can do that some other time. The world, all right, coming up on the next slide. So before the flood, I believe the world was very different. Had a canopy, a couple inches of ice overhead, maybe 10 miles of air to breathe, and then 10 miles of rock to stand on, the crust of the earth, and underneath there was water under the crust. But the people before the flood are living 900. After the flood, it drops off right away. There's Adam's life right there. And it's a simple biological fact that reptiles grow all their life. Reptiles never stop growing. People stop growing. When you're 16 or 18, you're going to quit growing vertically. Some go horizontally after that, but reptiles never stop. Something was different. Sharks aren't the only animal that keeps growing. Lizards, snakes, amphibians, and coral continue to grow till they die. Indeterminate growers. The Rocky Mountain bristlecone pine, like many other trees, lives for thousands of years and never stops growing. Beavers never stop growing. Kangaroos never stop growing. The national debt never stops growing. Okay? Do reptiles never stop growing? Yep, they just keep growing until they die. You can Google it, it's all day long. So what would an iguana look like if he could live to be 800? How about this guy? How about a Jackson chameleon? We had one in our museum. He died. He's in a jar now, pickled. What would he look like at 800 years old? Maybe something like a triceratops, yeah? Dinosaur just means terrible lizard. Dinosaurs always lived with man. They did not live millions of years ago. Dinosaur means terrible lizard. It comes from the Greek words dino, or terrible, meaning terrible, and saur, meaning lizard, like my coffee connoisseur. No, get it in the right. Only it's water. Because if you drink coffee, your babies are born naked. I do not want that to happen. Okay. Here, Dr. Cabrera holding a human vertebrae found in Cretaceous sediment. Hold it, guys. First of all, your whole geologic column is a joke. It doesn't exist anywhere except the textbook. There is no geologic column. They say the top layer is younger. I say, really? Where did it come from? Outer space? If you shuffle a deck of cards, is the top card younger? All the layers were shuffled up by Noah's flood. But anyway, how do you find? They say humans aren't found with dinosaurs. Yes, they are. Evidence of humans and dinosaurs living together found in Russia, Lago Santo, Brazil, some other places. Dinosaur and human footprints found in Turkmenia and Arizona. You can read the references here. A book written in 1870 before evolution became popular by Francis Holmes depicting Hadrosaur fulci on the front cover with a human. He said, not long after finding the above-named relics of human workmanship and engaged in our usual visits to the Ashley phosphate bed, a bone was found projecting from the bluff immediately in contact with the surface of the stony stratum, the phosphate. We pulled it out and behold, a human bone. Without hesitation, it was condemned as an accidental occupant of quarters of which it had no right to geologically. Oh, so you find a bone in the wrong layer and they say, well, it can't be true. It doesn't belong there. Guys, that's not how science works. It's there. Deal with it, okay? If it doesn't fit your theory, I got a great idea. Listen carefully. Change your theory. Professor Holmes showed me at the museum a gigantic human thigh bone 3 inches longer than the average bone of the same kind. It was taken from these same beds. It was a remarkable fossil, 1892. Fossil human hands found in Cretaceous rock near a large ichthyosaurus. Dr. James Gutierrez in South America. CreationEvidence.org has the information about that. New Scientist, 2001, 20 years ago. Researchers found several types of dinosaur and were surprised to find frog, fish, turtle, small mammal, and plant fossils as well. I bet the guy that wrote that article got fired for not protecting the religion of evolution. Evolution is a carefully protected state religion. Ica stones show dinosaurs and humans together. Dr. Ball has 2 of the stones. We had a bunch. I'm going to hopefully get them back one day. Dr. Patton has some. They found 50,000 stones in burial mounds in Peru, South America. About 500 of them have dinosaurs carved on them. The Ica civilization was 500 years ago. Did they know about dinosaurs? Dennis Swift wrote a great book, The Secrets of the Ica Stones. He was here and spoke at our conference last year. We got to get him back. He's a character. Dennis Swift. On the site of a temple in Cambodia, the temple was built about 1,000 years ago. There is a dinosaur. We got a replica of it here in our museum. How do you get a dinosaur on a temple 1,000 years ago? I think they lived with man. Get our Creation Boot Camp. We have that, Steve, Creation Boot Camp seminar available on DVD. If you want to hear Dennis Swift talk about that.
The book, too, we have.
What now?
The book, too.
And the book, his book, too? Oh, it's his book right there. We sell that book, Secrets of the Ica Stones, on our website, okay? Dinosaurs lived with man. You go from Dallas, Texas, down toward, 8 o'clock, Glen Rose in yellow there. They have the Paluxy River flows through town. The Paluxy River. Dr. Ball has a museum there. In the Paluxy River, at a big flood, peeled off layers of the limestone, and underneath there were human and dinosaur footprints. Hold it. I thought you guys said dinosaurs and humans didn't live together. There's all kinds of stuff on the trackways, dinosaur trackways all over there, but human tracks with them. Interesting. They chiseled out some of the tracks and took them to a museum and set them up under a dinosaur skeleton. Here's a kid taking a bath in one of the dinosaur tracks. Here's a human track, 10 inches, 8 inches away, whatever it is, from a dinosaur. Dr. Daughtery was a chiropractor in Glen Rose for 17 years, spent thousands of hours studying and photographing the human tracks. He's a chiropractor. He ought to know something about, human anatomy. Yeah, okay. Much to my surprise, the book documents literally hundreds, not just a handful, of well-exposed dinosaur track sites spread all over the world. Tracks, trackways, nests, eggs, coprolites, that's petrified dinosaur poo-poo, and the reptilian masters of the Mesozoic are chronicled from all over the world. And the record is an impressive one, indeed, in terms of not only abundance and geographic distribution, but also quality of preservation. How would you preserve footprints in the mud? I think there'd have to be another layer deposited on top pretty quickly, don't you think? Like maybe every tide, the water going up and down is going to make the water rush in and out and cause these footprints. And then people are running looking for high ground. They leave their footprints. The next tide puts a layer of mud and preserves them. Yeah. Lockley and Gillett report more than 400 dinosaur track sites in North and South America alone. Wow. 12 large localities around the world that contain more than 1,000 individual tracks. 1,000 footprints in a row. How would you preserve that? Maybe there was a flood. Yeah. Yes, ma'am?
Chalk is present. Chalk is lime, what they make concrete out of.
Right. Chalk.
Mud.
Chalk is going to harden to like lime. Yeah, or harden like concrete.
Cretaceous means chalk.
Gory Carpenter in North Carolina owns property in Virginia that has over 1,000 dinosaur tracks on his property. Call him up. Okay. Dinosaur footprints are common. I mean, tens of thousands have been found. In 1880, Earl Flint, the geologist representing the Peabody Museum in Harvard, discovered in a rock quarry near Managua, Nicaragua, on the shores of Lake Gilva, a layer containing fossilized human tracks, 16 to 24 feet below the surface. Flint described the tracks in these words written in 1884. The footprints are from 1/2 to 3 inches in depth, and none exceeded 18 inches. An 18-inch footprint? I'm almost 6'2", and my footprint's less than 12 inches. How big would a guy with an 18-inch foot be? Some of the impressions are nearly closed, the surface falling back into the impression, the crevice 2 inches wide. In all is all one sees, and my first glance at some parallel to one, some less. Okay. Gave me an idea. The owner of the latter was using a staff to assist him in walking. Beside him, there's a stick, hole for a stick. Well, I would say during the flood, it may have took 4 months to kill everybody. People are running around looking for high ground. The crust of the earth would be flexing up and down, and high ground disappears, and oh, go over there. And everybody'd run over there until gradually they all drowned. But a guy, do any animals walk with a staff like that? Is that common? Walking through the mud? In some, the substance flowed outward, leaving a ridge around it, seen in one secured for the museum. The stride is variable owing to the size of the person and the changing nature of the surface passed over. The longest one uncovered was 17 inches. The length of foot, 10 inches, and width, 4 inches. The feet were arched, steps in a right line, measured from center to heel, the center of the great toe over these steps. People were making them were going both ways in a direction consonant to that of present lake shore, more or less east and west. Oh, let's see. Among these and others in nearby sites, Flint found examples of both barefoot and well-defined sandaled foot impressions. Some people barefoot, some people had sandals on. Do you know any animals that make sandals? All were geologically dated at being 200,000 years of age. Now, supposedly at this remote time, man was nothing more than a hairy, naked creature. Keep in mind, he's writing this in 1884. Man was nothing but a hairy, naked creature capable of chipping a few flints and just beginning to overcome his fear of fire. In sharp contrast, the Nicaragua tracks finds reveal the intelligent use of a walking stick, the wearing of sandals that appear to have been designed for comfort and protection. We are confronted here with not just a footprint of a half-beast, but rather the footprint of a civilized being. Harvard University. If a guy wrote that today at Harvard, he would be fired. You're not allowed to question the religion of evolution. 2 years earlier, in the summer of 1882, inmates working in the quarry of state prison near Carson City, Nevada, brought to light a layer of sandstone covered with fossilized animal tracks, among them a number having belonged to the extinct mammoth. What caused considerable scientific consternation, however, was the fact that several human tracks were also found. The tracks were in 6 series, each with alternate right-left tracks. The stride was from 2.5 to over 3 feet, and the individual prints were 18 to 20 inches in length, that of a giant. I think so. The straddle, the distance between the right and left tracks, 18 to 19 inches. Most people don't walk with their right feet 18 or 19 inches away from their left feet as they walk, unless the guy's 12 feet tall. Then he might. Geologist Joseph LeConte read a paper on the investigation done at Carson City tracks in 1882 and attempted to explain them as the marks left by an extinct giant sloth that lived during the late Pliocene. There's no such thing as a Pliocene. Over 2 million years ago. But sloths, in order to walk upright on only 2 feet, as the fossil tracks indicate, would have had to use their tails as a balance. And there were no tail grooves in the sandstone. Not only this, but a comparison between Carson City tracks, known sloth impressions, showed several dissimilarities. The sloth's prints have marked toe protuberances as well as definite claw marks. Carson City tracks have neither. Carson City tracks showed signs that their maker had worn some type of sandal for foot protection. Very definitely not the habit of an animal. So keep in mind, back in the 1800s, stuff against evolution got published. Doesn't get published anymore. There's a photograph, the Taylor Trail, taken by Don Patton, omniology.com. Human footprints crossing dinosaur footprints. Human footprints. Some right next to the dinosaur track. Here's a human track inside the dinosaur track, which means the dinosaur stepped there first, human stepped there afterwards, while the mud was still soft. Here's a copy of it. We got this in our museum, don't we? The human track inside the dinosaur track. Human track inside a dinosaur track. Interesting. Texas Tracks and Artifacts. Do we have that book? We should get that one. Omniology.com has a good reputation for a computer programmer named Glenn Kubin, who writes all kinds of dumb stuff about these tracks. The casting of 18-inch human footprint, size 24.
That we have.
We have that. Somebody didn't believe this, so Dr. Ball and some people went there and they saw the human tracks going up to the edge of the little limestone ridge. Said, all right, guys, get the cameras, watch this. Got the crowbars, lifted out the rock, undisturbed limestone. There's more footprints underneath, right where it ought to be. Right foot, right foot, in stride. Interesting. So they still didn't believe it. So they chiseled out a track and sawed it up, sawed it across the toes, and found out the limestone had been pressed in. It was distortion marks underneath. This was a compression print, not an erosion mark. So human tracks all over. The stride, 6 feet. 6 to 7 feet between steps. Dr. Ball's book, The Dinosaurs, got a bunch of stuff in there on that. Let's see, who wrote this to me? David Smith, associate pastor at First Southern Baptist Church in Arizona. He said, Dr. Hovind, I grew up in Glen Rose. I went on an excavation with Dr. Carl Ball. We followed the footprints of a man beside a dinosaur. It was as if the man were walking with the dinosaur. Nova was there to film the dig. There was also an evolutionist there who'd been arguing with Dr. Ball the entire time. Nova didn't film much of the tracks or our dig, but they did interview the evolutionist. He told them he had not seen anything there to disprove evolution. What he didn't tell the camera was he had refused to turn around and look at the tracks we were working on.
And they refused to
film them. We'll find out Judgment Day, all kinds of things of people have covered up the truth to advance their religion. Okay? He stood with his back to the dig and tracks making these statements. Nova knew the man had not looked at the tracks, but did not report that, nor did they give Dr. Ball equal airtime to respond. One guy said, well, Hovind, maybe there was a dinosaur that had feet like a human. That would explain it. That's brilliant. Dinosaur footprints side by side with humans, finding them would counter evidence that humans evolved long after dinosaurs. I agree. It does. Creationists have stated humans and dinosaurs were contemporaries in time. See, the Bible says nothing died till Adam sinned, which means dinosaurs did not die till after Adam sinned. Nothing died. Man brought death into the world. Evolution says death brought man into the world. Exact opposite. This guy said if you could find dinosaur and human footprints together, that would be the most outstanding discovery of the 20th century. From a debate at Ernst Mayr said that. Well, that's true unless there was a blackout from the media on information that would harm the evolution theory, like there's going to be a blackout on what's happening with Trump. You watch, media blackout. Stalin said 150 years ago, you want to control the world? Control the media first. Get control of all the media. CNN, the Communist News Network, Okay. Human and dinosaur together on video number 3 of my series. Bible says all life forms were in 6 days, all of them. Human and chicken footprints have never been found in the same rock strata. Does that prove humans and chickens have never lived at the same time? Scores of people have seen these footprints and think they're right. There's evidence some dinosaurs may still be alive today. So finding the footprints is irrelevant. Don't need to find the footprints. There's still lots of reports on video on 3 dinosaurs living with man. Okay. Max Hahn was fishing with his family near London, Texas, 1934. He found a rock with wood protruding from it. When the rock was cracked open, an octagonal-shaped iron hammer was exposed. The wood handle is partially coalified with quartz and calcite crystalline. Density tests indicate casting of exceptional quality. A unique coating of ferrous oxide, which does not readily form under present conditions, appears to inhibit rusting. So they found a petrified hammer. We got a copy of it in our museum. There's a replica of it. Let's see. Back in Genesis 4, way before the flood, Zillah bare a Tubal-Cain, an instructor of every artificer in brass and iron. You know they had brass and iron before the flood? See, man started off smart. We're getting dumber. Yeah. Newton Anderson found a bell inside a lump of coal, 1944. I interviewed him on my program years ago. He broke the coal open. There's a bell inside, perfectly formed to the coal. Now, textbooks are going to tell your kid coal formed in the Carboniferous era, 250 million years ago, way before humans. That is a lie. There's no such thing as a Carboniferous era. 1891, Morrisonville Times reported a curious find was brought to light. Mrs. Culp last Tuesday morning, as she was breaking open a lump of coal, embedded in a circular shape a small gold chain, 10 inches long. How would there be a gold chain inside a lump of coal? Coal formed during the flood, not millions of years ago. A cast iron pot was found in 1912 at the Municipal Electronic Plant in Thomas, Oklahoma. Dr. Baugh has the pot in his museum. We got a replica of it here. 4.5-inch zinc and silver vessel found in rock 600 million years old. All right, 1851. The Nampa image, a little bitty doll found in Nampa, Idaho, found by a well driller 320 feet below the surface. The rock layer is supposed to be 12 million years old. Idaho State Historical Society had it. I probably dumped it now that they heard me preach on it. They found what appears to be a 2,000-year-old battery in Iraq. Egyptian hieroglyphics show apparently they're using electricity to do something to these snakes. Mummify them? I don't know. Did they know about electricity? Workers found human bones and a well-tempered copper arrowhead in a vein of silver. 1880, they found stone tools in California gold mines. Spear points, mortars, pestles. They were found deep in mine shafts underneath thick, undisturbed layers of lava, ranging from 9 to 55 million years old. Human artifacts. A stone pestle. Holmes of the Smithsonian was one of the critics of the California finds, said, perhaps if Professor Whitney had fully appreciated the story of human evolution as it's understood today, he would have hesitated to announce the conclusions. Oh, stop. Wait, what? If he knew how important our theory was, he wouldn't have announced what he found. Is that what he's saying? That's exactly what he's saying. Our theory is more important than truth. The Smithsonian has been a real great place to hide anything that goes against the evolution theory. A lot of stuff in their basement. 1950s, Thomas Lee, Museum of Canada, found advanced stone tools in glacial deposits. The deposits were 65 to 125,000 years old. The director of the museum was fired for refusing to fire the guy who discovered them. Think about that for 5 minutes. Tons of artifacts disappeared into storage bins at the NMC. The discoverer had to be killed. It would have forced the rewriting of almost every book in the business. Yeah, you don't want to have to make us rewrite our history books. We've already decided. A coin-like object from a well boring near Lawn Ridge, Illinois, reportedly found 114 feet below the surface. Why would there be a coin? Did they have coins before the flood? Probably. The flood buried that world. See, God had given them a perfect world, a perfect diet. He told them what to eat. I'm going to just quickly on this one. God said, first chapter of the book, I want you to eat the herbs, that's vegetables, and the fruit, and the seeds. That's your meat. Today we eat hamburger, French fries, and Coke, and wonder why we get sick. Many great books have been written on this topic, following the Garden of Eden diet, fruit, vegetables, and seeds. Most people eat the peach or the apricot and throw away the seed. Inside the pit is, crack it open, there's a nut in there that looks kind of like an almond, and it tastes pretty bad, right? Be sure to get organically grown fruit, okay? Not the fruit raised on steroids. But if you eat the seeds to the fruit, it has a bitter taste to it, but it kills cancer cells. The bitter taste will give you a pucker that'll last about an hour. Some of you old timers are thinking, pucker, what's that for? I used to know, man, anyway, the seeds contain cyanide, and they say, it's poison. Well, hold it. You know, hydrogen is explosive. Ask the folks on the Hindenburg, right? Oxygen supports combustion. But when you mix hydrogen and oxygen together, two explosive gases, you know what you get? Water. Puts out fires. There's a book, World Without Cancer. There's lots on this topic of how apricot seeds and vitamin B17 kills cancer cells. I had cancer, took B17 and cured it. You cured yours with B17? Come to Dinosaur Adventureland. You want some proof? There's a tribe of folks up in northern Pakistan called the Hunza. There's the Hunza tribe up there. The Hunza, North Pakistan. Average age is 90. The Hunza people. Secret of living 100 years. Googled this morning. Hunza, the favorite apricot, and the seed is the most prized of all foods. They raise apricots, they dry them out, crack them open, save the seeds. Now, how many people die every year from different things? Well, let's see. Jason Vale had a website on, they really hassled him for saying, hey, take apricot seeds. Imagine getting somebody in prison for selling seeds. Certain grasses have seeds. You know, wild animals almost never get cancer. They're allowed to eat what they want. He said this, apricot seed is found in thousands of other foods, wheatgrass, lima beans, nitrilicide. Although it's safer than sugar and salt, the government has played on the word cyanide to scare people into not eating these foods. October 2000, the FDA and Postal Police came to my home with guns and took the apricot seeds, computers, and Laetrile, totaling $40,000. We have helped thousands of people have their professional success and have their success testimonies. Apricotsfromgod.com. You have referred many people to our company, many of whom were first enlightened through your video series, to the answer to cancer. We still direct people on where to obtain apricot seeds and extract, as well as supply them with in-home clinic, which surpasses Mexican clinics by combining the best of them all. You can read about Apricots from God. Jason said, pray for me. They came and raided him, stole everything from him for selling apricot seeds. You know, for years, sailors died of a disease called scurvy. The British Navy lost 1 million sailors to scurvy. 1 million sailors died on board ship of scurvy. Makes your skeleton bend. 1 million sailors died of scurvy just in the British Navy. James Lind came along and said, guys, I don't know what it is, but there's something in fruit that'll fix this. They didn't know about vitamins. Scurvy reported fungus, flesh, putrid gums, dreadful sores. They died of scurvy. Scurvy, a condition caused by a lack of vitamin C. Most animals can manufacture their own vitamin C. Exceptions include humans, monkeys, guinea pigs. A lack of vitamin C means that collagen, a protein found in the body, cannot be replaced, leading to a tissue breakdown. A diet with no vitamin C could lead to symptoms within 4 weeks. Adult patients may suffer fatigue, bleeding gums, joint pain, shortness of breath, slow healing wounds. Many diseases have been turned out to be cured by a vitamin. Scurvy, beriberi, pellagra, rickets. I think cancer is a deficiency disease. God told man to eat the fruit, vegetables, and seeds. He said he gave herb for the service of man and bread to strengthen your heart. Whoa, wait a minute. Does bread strengthen your heart? Well, it used to. But remember the love of money, root of all evil? They learned years ago if they took out the vitamin E and lecithin, the bread would last longer. They invented white bread. It's very simple. The whiter the bread, the quicker you're dead. So they took out that. So now, remember the Bible says, give us this day our daily bread, right? You have to make the bread fresh every day. Otherwise, if you take out the vitamins that are causing it to spoil, the bread will last for a month. Now, heart attacks and strokes skyrocket. I've got all kinds of stuff on this. We got to quit. We've gone too long here. Watch my video number 2 on the Garden of Eden, what it was like, for more on that. Okay, I'm sorry for going so long. I could go forever just on nutrition. One thought. If you're driving your car and the oil light comes on, you got 2 choices. Find the problem and fix it, or unplug the light. Right? You say, I got a headache. Here, take an aspirin. Well, what's causing your headache? Are you suffering from an aspirin deficiency? Isn't the aspirin treating the symptom, not the cause?
Yes.
Most drugs, and I'm not against them, but most of them, all they do is treat symptoms. They don't get to the cause. We got 4 nurses that live here and work here at the ministry. And all they train you going through school is drug therapy. You got a pain, take a pill. They don't want people to be healthy because then you're out of a job. Right? Bible says, love of money, root of all evil. Bill Sardi, one of our trustees, website knowledgeofhealth.com, he said, you don't need to fear the coronavirus. Take these vitamins and minerals. It can't get you. Go to knowledgeofhealth.com. See all the stuff Bill has. How many people die of this unnecessarily? Our body was designed to give us warning signs. Your gums bleed easily. You're low in vitamin C. You got aches and pains in your muscles. You're probably low in vitamin C. You don't have enough zinc in your body. You're going to get warts. Take zinc. It'll go away. That's a whole other long story. Bill's got a lot of good books on that. Check Bill's website. There's another one, knowledgeofhealth.com. Anyway, okay. Questions? God made the world, made it perfect. Man messed it up. Now you need to give your heart to the Lord and get saved. We'll help you do that. Yes, ma'am.
Magnesium is very good for headaches.
Magnesium for headaches and water. Drink enough water. Yep. Yep.
One small observation. Brass and iron, you get a little sodium, you transfer electrons. That's going to be voltage and amperage. A little interesting.
Brass and iron with some sodium, it'll make a battery.
I think so.
Yeah.
I've never done it, but I think so.
There's a lot of different ways to make electricity flow. Yeah.
Just interesting.
Interesting.
Never mind.
1845, 30% of those giving birth died. You had a 30% chance of dying just by having a baby. He was horrified. He noted that the doctors would go examine dead bodies and then go deliver the baby without washing their hands. He said, guys, I think after you touch a dead person, you ought to wash your hands. They fired him from 3 different hospitals. Finally put him in a mental institution for suggesting you wash your hands after you handle a dead body. God had said 3,000 years earlier, if you touch a dead body, don't touch anybody else till sundown, till you wash your clothes and bathe. See, there's 2 philosophies, evolution and creation. Was your body designed or did we evolve? And I go through this on video 4. I don't have time now. All right. Thank you so much. If you're not a Christian, give your heart to the Lord. Call me, 855-BIG-DINO. I'll get my phone in a minute. Extension 3. I'll be glad to lead you to the Lord over the phone. Any other questions or comments here? That's a full hour. Yes, ma'am.
Max Gerson was a doctor in New York City. He had over 95% cure rate with cancer patients. He used the diet.
Use diet. 95% cure rate for cancer. Over 95%. Yes, sir.
Why do they want to hide information about reality and they just create theories?
Well, suppose you make money off of people getting sick. You don't want everybody healthy. What if they could invent an oil that you never had to change in your car? How many oil change places would go out of business? Yeah. Okay, think about it. All right, thanks for joining us. Come visit, guys. Thanks for coming down. When's this movie you're working on now going to come out, brother?
Hopefully by the end of the year.
By the end of the year?
Yeah.
The interview I did last night is going to take a whole year to get published? Okay. And what's your website again?
Framingtheworld.com.
Framingtheworld.com. Okay, sounds great. See you tomorrow. Bye. All right.